So back during the summer of 2010, the summer right before what turned out to be my last year in the classroom before I moved into administration, I went ahead and I did something that I had never done before. What I did was I created a short video. Really, it was a kind of a classroom tour or a classroom preview that I then put on my website for my incoming students to take a look at and kind of get a glimpse into what would be their classroom for the next school year. So basically, early August, I had gone in and I had finished getting my classroom all set up. Once it was all set up, I went around with a flip cam. I basically walked through my classroom and showed all of the different parts of the classroom, kind of narrating as I went. So basically, I went through and said, "Hey boys and girls, this is Mr. Coley, and if you're going to be in my classroom this year, here's what our classroom looks like." And I basically went through and I showed them what the desk arrangement looked like, what some of the bulletin boards looked like. I highlighted my desk, the little reading corner that we had with bean bags and things like that. And like I said, once I was done, I went ahead and put that on my website for my incoming students to view. And the inspiration for this video, how I got the idea, was actually not from my students. The inspiration for this video came from my student, my daughter Megan. That summer was right before Megan was getting ready to go into 4th grade. She was going to be starting a new school, new grade level, new teacher, with having to make a bunch of new friends at a new school. And she was understandably a little anxious about that, a little nervous about what was going to happen. And I remember during that summer just thinking to myself, man, if she could just see her classroom that she's going to be in, if she could just hear her teacher's voice, it would go so far in taking her that anxiousness away. And there it was. There was the idea that was hatched. So really, the lessons that I've learned, I actually learned a couple lessons from making this video. And the first is, inspiration can come from beyond the classroom. Like I just said, the idea for this video did not come from the classroom. It came from my own home and my daughter. And for those of you who are parents, I'm sure you have done this before too, where you have thought, would my own son or would my own daughter benefit from something like this? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and try it with my students in my classroom. So inspiration can, and I would argue should, oftentimes come from beyond the classroom. And the second lesson that I learned from this is that going the extra mile is always worth it, even if it only benefits one student. When I created this video and I put it up online, I know that not every student watched it. When I asked the students after the year had begun, how many of you guys watched the classroom tour, it was really only a handful of students. And I could have very easily become frustrated with that and thought in the future, well, I'm not going to do anything like this again because my whole class didn't do it. But going the extra mile for making that video was worth it, because if just one of my new students slept better the night before school started because they watched that video, because they had a little idea of what to expect the next day, if one student benefited from that video, then it was completely worth the time that it took to make the video and to put it on the website. I used to host a classroom website called MrColey.com when I was teaching, and it was definitely my passion. I put hours and hours and hours into that site. I loved doing it. And there were times when I would get a bit frustrated when not as many students as I would have liked were taking advantage of the resources on the website. The podcasts, the iPod flashcards, the study tools, the things like that. But I had to remind myself, the same thing with that I talked about with that video, that if even one student went on that website, watched a video, downloaded the iPod flashcards, listened to that StudyCast podcast, if one student did it, then all of the time that I put into putting that stuff together, all of the time was completely well worth the effort. because that one student could have been my student, could have been my daughter, or could have been my son. So I would encourage you, go the extra mile. Put those things on your website or your blog or whatever it is. Put that extra time in, and do not be discouraged if not 100% of your students are taking advantage of those extra opportunities. Because again, one student benefiting from that extra effort is totally worth it. Thanks for watching.